You may think that you're not a great writer. You may think that you're not Hemingway. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be Hemingway. You just have to really have your message and understand what you're trying to do.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Dave Chesson. Previously, episode 44 of the 12-Minute Converse podcast. It has now been 3 years, 29 days, 23 hours, 15 minutes ago.
I would suggest that you first decide what success is, and then you take action to make that actually a part of your life.
Dave, how are you doing, my friend?
It's really good to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll say having you forward. Having you back feels as though we're going back in time. I think definitely going forward. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Tell us, what's the update? The last time we spoke, you were about to transition into something called Kindlepreneur. What's going on?
Yeah, well, back when we were talking, I think I was actually in Sri Lanka, still working for the U.S. government as a military diplomat, but for the past 3 years at that point, I had been working towards building enough of a side income to allow me to one day quit my job with the military, come home and work full time, and be with the kids. And sure enough, we were right at that transition period. And since that point that we last talked, I'm doing exactly that. I was able to quit working for the military, and I now am home. I just saw the kids off to camp this morning, and
Wow.
I am here. So I've really been living the dream, and it's been wonderful.
Now, when we spoke, there was a 16-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, which, I mean, the math gives us 19,
Yes.
7, and 5. How's that going?
Well, the 19-year-old is now in college, so I'm footing a college bill, which is fun. And she's actually she now plays softball for Lehigh University,
Sweet.
and I'm very proud to say she is a all-star on the team. She not only on her freshman year did she become a starter, but she actually was runner-up for MVP for the entire league.
Wow.
So she's been doing great, and I miss her dearly. But anybody who's seen any of my YouTube videos knows that she still does all my video editing. My 7-year-old and 5-year-old are doing wonderful and just kind of enjoying being back in America. And like I said this morning, just sent them off to camp. So they're pretty smitten.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, I mean, like, it's amazing, isn't it? Like, looking back from now to then, you set out to do something and you've done it, right? You've set values at a certain place. Dig into those values that you've maintained, please, over these 3 years.
Well, when I started the original journey, it wasn't because I just wanted a little extra money or that I thought it would be cool or, my goal was to be able to make enough money to be home with my family. And when I set that kind of goal, failure would be like failing my children and failing my wife. And those things right there were the things that kept me going, even when things were tough, even when my first business idea failed, and the second and the third. It didn't matter because I was going to find a way. So I would say to anybody listening, the number one thing you can do is truly set a goal that is worthy of sacrifice. And when you do that, you will find that you will reach your destination.
When we spoke, one of the words that peered through was freedom. How does it make you feel now?
Yeah, it's funny. The first day of not having a 9 to 5 job was pretty scary. I felt like I was on vacation, like, oh man, it's gonna end. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I gotta go back to some job. And it never happened. Now I'm just like, man, that's gotta really suck to have to drive to work Monday through Friday and in traffic and not be there for your kids' recital, during the week. I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite things is when I go to one of my kids' events at school, I'll look around and it's like 95% moms and there's like a couple of us dads. I'm like, yeah. But, I think it's just absolutely wonderful. But again, it wasn't so much the freedom that was the forefront. I mean, freedom's an easy word to say, but when I was able to say freedom to see my children and be there for them and be one of those dads that's actually there, that was key.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just stepped off from my day job as well. And, there's the speech thing, right? Like everyone wants you to say something. And in just speaking to the team, and I've been working with an amazing team, kudos to them. But just speaking to them, there's something that came out of my mouth, and I found it to be rather interesting in hindsight. As podcasters, we edit as we speak, right? But
Sounds about right, yeah.
I was interested by the fact that I said, the truth is the consequences are the same, whether it's yes or no. What do you think?
I think, that's kind of a difficult question.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say if we put it up against, you could have stayed in the military and the consequences would have been the same. You decided to put things in place to not be in the military and the consequences are the same. Like, it doesn't stop. The work doesn't stop. There isn't a paved road that turns gold as soon as the answer is yes or no. The consequences are the same, aren't they?
True. Although I would say that with the military, I kind of had like a stable job, so long as I showed up to work, and did a good enough job, I would still get paid the same. But I think there was a lot of like fear that I originally had about being an entrepreneur, of that one day I'd wake up and even if I was working hard, that the money wouldn't be there. That there would be failure. To me, that was a really hard thing to kind of grasp, and a lot of it, the fear of the consequences that could occur, almost hindered me from not making the right choices. Luckily, my wife is such a phenomenal supporter, and she basically at one point told me, I would rather be married to a man who went for his dreams and worked hard and failed than a man who didn't and just settled into mediocrity.
Which brings us to another conversation, extending one I had with David Hooper last night. And he said that we needed to start placing emphasis on the spouse. Like, my wife has been tremendous in supporting what we've been accomplishing as well. And it's really a make or break, isn't it?
100%. I would say that if your spouse doesn't understand or believe in what you're doing, then it almost makes every effort you're doing almost worthless. One thing to look at is that the word sacrifice is correct. There was a lot of time that I had to use to try to build up this business on the side. I either had to sacrifice sleep, I had to sacrifice watching movies, or TV shows or things like that. And if my wife didn't understand why I was doing that, I think she would have felt as though I was either neglecting her, or she might have felt that I didn't have my priorities straight. But since we were both on the same page, we understood what we were working for. The sacrifice was something that we both embraced and we both supported. And I think that was just a game changer for us.
Yeah. Again, amazing audience. Like, please do note how important it is to continue to communicate. The team needs to know why they're sacrificing.
Absolutely.
Not having daddy or mommy. Yeah, it's important. The communication is an important part of it. Well, Dave, now tell us about Kindlepreneur, this beautiful product. Can I call it product? It's so much when you go to the website, kindlepreneur.com. Amazing audience. Are you hearing the excitement in my voice? It's amazing. And I said this 3 years ago. What's going on there now?
Well, the website's grown immensely. I think back when we were first talking, it was maybe getting about 50,000 visitors per month, and we're now over 250,000 visitors per month, which is just been kind of crazy. Especially considering that, I have a form of dyslexia. So the fact that I get to write and be dyslexic is just mind blowing. But I would also say that that's a message to anybody out there that, you may think that you're not a great writer. You may think that you're not Hemingway. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be Hemingway. You just have to really have your message and understand what you're trying to do. And with Kindlepreneur, my goal is to teach self-publishers and published companies as well how to market books in the digital age. And with that, we understand who we write for and how we serve and our style of teaching.
Amazing, folks. If you haven't heard of Kindlepreneur just yet, type it in immediately, please. It's amazing. Are those things that you have for free still for free?
Still for free. Yep.
I mean, like, oh my, oh my, oh my, you've really helped to the value of providing great content for free, haven't you?
Yeah, and we still have those tools as well that authors can use, like the Kindle calculator, where if you want to understand like how many books another book is selling, you just take the Amazon bestseller rank, which is on a book sales page, put it into our calculator, and it will convert it into number of books sold that day. So that's been a really big fan favorite. And we also have a book description generator
I
tool
love that. Oh, that's my
where,
favorite there. Yeah. Can I
yes,
jump in here? Like, can I give the
go for it.
customer's experience? Yeah. So you go in there. Have you seen a blurb on Amazon and it not be really nicely written in terms of how it looks visually? Well, that's a challenge because there's code that's required. And that's a challenge as well. But Dave gives you this one-stop shop where you can just write the words, put in the let's say the bold text or the italics and the numbering or the bullets, and then just copy and paste. Did I do a good job there?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we designed it so it's a WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get, and you can go ahead and make it look however you want. And then when you're ready, just click "Get my code" and copy that code and paste it right into Amazon, and voila, you
Voila.
got yourself a blurb that looks the way you want it to look without being an HTML programmer.
Love it. Dave, it's been such a great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to you the first time we spoke, and then the second time, because I think we connected a week after that first conversation, or a couple of days, and then now the third time. And you have a heart of gold, in my experience. I want to say thanks for being what is now the foundation of the 12-Minute Convos podcast, and for doing what you said you were going to do. I'm your accountability partner on via podcast, and thank you for being who you are and being true to your own unique real self.
Well, thank you so much. That really means a lot. And again, thank you for having me back.
Sure. So, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I would just like to reiterate the message to everyone that no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing or so, if you truly define a goal that's worth fighting for, you will win and you will survive.
Love it. Dave Chesson, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.